Thank you for joining us. My name is Jennifer Zach. I work in the development department at the Trail Conference. So I want to thank everybody for spending the morning with me and Phil to start your day off, get you moving, and to get you ready for the rest of the day. So if anybody is familiar with the Trail Conference, you know that each year we hold an open house in honor of National Trails Day, which is actually today. But we've been celebrating, well, we celebrate 365 days a year, but we've been highlighting and engaging our community over the past week. So it looks a lot different than years in the past. No vendors to explore, no guided hikes to take, no stewardship opportunities. But we still wanted to celebrate, so we're bringing National Trails Day and our celebration to you virtually. So thank you for taking the time. I appreciate it. First and foremost, I hope that each of you are doing well during these challenging times, especially a very emotional past week we've had. So I thank you for showing up today and doing something for yourself and hopefully uplifting your spirit and get you motivated. The Trail Conference has found itself in a very unique position with the pandemic. When it first hit, a lot of people flooded the outdoors, finding solace on the trails. But the Trail Conference took the stance of making sure that everybody was safe and spread the message that you're safest at home. That included suspending our volunteer and staff trail work. So for the first part of the season, which is usually, the most aggressive on the trails, cleaning up debris over the winter, and then obviously lots of rainfall, lots of growth. So we've suspended our volunteer efforts, and they were just lifted on May 15th. So in the meantime, what we did to make sure that our 2,000 plus volunteers were ready to go is we deployed a recovery and response fund, which was not only a fundraising effort, which is not only is a fundraising effort, but also it allowed us to start up with these innovative efforts to digitally train our volunteers in trail maintenance, invasive species removal, and identification. So we've been hard at work so that the influx that the trails are seeing, that they are addressed. And so hopefully, now that we're on week 3 of this lifted restrictions, that hopefully the trails are getting up to standard. So we've been having a series of fun activities all week, and today I'd like to introduce Dr. Phil Lombardio. Sorry if I'm butchering it. He will be taking us through a ground movement workshop, and so you'll get to learn some techniques. He's going to be moving fast, but if you do have a question, since this is a workout, I think it'd be best probably just to shout it out. But just a little bit about Phil, and he can fill you in on the stuff that I miss, is that he is a physical therapist, and he's experienced in both the care of sports industry and the general over alignment of the body makeup. So he knows how your body is supposed to move, how it's supposed to feel, and adjust people to make sure that they're moving in the right way. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to Phil.
Great, thanks, Jennifer. I really appreciate the introduction, and I really appreciate the New York, New Jersey Trail Conference for having me again. The people that I always connect with at these events just make me smile. They're generally good people. They're people that I enjoy being around. They ask great questions. They get involved in exactly where my philosophy is and what we're going to be working on today. So again, like Jennifer was saying, we're going to make the best out of what we have. There is obviously, these are different times. This is literally, I don't know, my 2nd or 3rd virtual class that I'm teaching. First 2 went fantastic, so I'm really excited for this one to do it again. Of course, there's going to be bumps, there's going to be glitches along the way, but I'm really excited to share it with you. We're going to go nice and steady. I wouldn't necessarily say quickly or fast, but I do want to move nice and steady just so I can bring you guys through and get as much of an experience as you can out of it. We're going to have a time at the end for questions so that as I'm just flowing and cycling through everything, if anything comes up, you just make a note of it for yourself, and then maybe we can circle back and go back. It'd be nearly impossible to jump in and let everybody ask questions whenever something came up. And I'm going to try to both share examples, verbal instructions, and feedback wherever I can. So actually the first request that I have is about half of you have your cameras on and about half of you have your cameras off. If you could turn your cameras on, if you're going to be following along, that'd be fantastic and really helpful, because that allows me to see, is what I'm doing making sense? Is it not making sense? Are you getting what I'm talking about? Are you not? So I'll give you guys a minute to turn the cameras on. I'll keep talking while I am. By no means do you have to follow along. If you want to just watch, see what I'm doing, some curiosity, by all means, I encourage it. But I also encourage you to try a little bit. You know, what we're going to be talking about today is physical capability skills in the area of ground movement. MovNat is an organization that I found about 4 years ago, and it's just been phenomenal. It's more of a philosophy than a specific training paradigm. Natural movements are skills that are instinctual, they're evolutionary, and they're purposeful. You know, I go to a gym, I work out, I lift weights occasionally, but my true passion are skills like jumping, vaulting, balancing, climbing, ground mobility, walking, running, swimming, combative skills. These are natural humanistic skills. Bicep curls are not natural and humanistic. Do they serve a purpose? Sure, absolutely, but they're not as enjoyable. I think we all know when we're out playing in a playground or running around with kids or grandkids that it just feels good. And why does that, or dancing, why does that feel good? Because it's natural, it's instinctual, and it means something to us as human beings. And so, you know, let's just tap into a little bit of that. The other thing I'm going to say is that ground mobility is a fundamental practice that should be practiced every day. Whether you're an ultra runner, a weightlifter, an avid hiker, people categorize themselves as active, but we want to make sure that we're getting everything in all aspects of movement and all aspects of fitness. And so ground mobility is going to be a great way to start. So I got a couple more cameras popping on. Again, 1 or 2 of you, if you could kick in, that'd be great. It'd be really helpful for me to see the feedback. Everyone else, the alignments are really, really good, so I can see everybody else. And it'll be good to follow along. Cool. I'll just hit pause for a second and see if anybody does have a specific question before we get started. Great, excellent. 2 things also that I'm going to say. How's the volume, by the way? Can everybody hear me? Excellent, good. Alrighty, number 1 rule is anything that I do, you do not have to do. So if I'm going and going and going and you just don't feel like that's, you know, that's about as far as you've gotten, that's fine. Do not, if there's something that feels uncomfortable or doesn't feel right, do not do it. Please just pass and follow us along with everything else. The other thing I'm going to try to do is give you some verbal and visual modifications. So I might do something one way and then I'll show you, you can put a hand here, you can move this way, you can move that way. So yeah, if there's no other questions, we're going to start getting into just a couple of different seated positions. So I'm going to back up here, get this just right. There we go. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to look at different sitting positions. So clear out a little bit of space. Some of you are on the floor already. That's fantastic. I read somewhere that there's about 59 different sitting positions that we can get ourselves into. And usually we use about 3, which includes a chair, and a chair. So getting down on the floor is great. I eat dinner like this. I watch television like this. But this is great. So let's look at a couple of different positions that we can get into. So first, a classic here. Great. Let's do a little reaching too. So reach over to one side. Come on back. And try to tell a story in your head. Again, like I said, these movements should be purposeful. So the story might be, we're moving things. We're sitting here, we're in a group, and we're passing something back and forth. Or we're sitting and we're eating and we need to reach and grab the salt or something to drink. So you just want to think, put a story to it. This is not just back and forth and back and forth. Let's try a different position with one leg bent and one leg out straight. The same thing though, can we move in that position? The modification would be simply to put your hands behind you so that you can sit yourself up tall. There you go. Sit here, you might be playing with toys, playing with kids, playing cards. Let's start to think of that story. Switch it up to the other side. Boom, boom, boom. Here we are. Great, we can do both feet in together. And the same thing, this is a common stretch from gym class. I remember this all the way back in 3rd grade, you know, where you bounce and butterfly. But again, now think about it. If we were sitting here and maybe we had a bowl and we're eating, or I don't know, my mind wanders. So I apologize if my analogies get a little wonky. All right, so reach up. How high can you reach up in this position? That's a tricky one. Great. Now let's do one leg in, one leg bent. This is where we can get a little bit more. We're going to come back to this when we start talking about transitions. Same thing. Can you sit up a little taller? If you're bent over, put that hand behind you and sit up a little taller. Or hold on to your knee. Help out yourself to sit up a little taller. Switch to the other side. There you go. Back. And forth. Great. Everyone looks great, by the way. Thank you for turning the cameras on. You're about 4 feet away. You're about 2 inches tall, but I can still see you're all doing a great job. Thanks. Thank you. Okay, from this position, how about 2 legs straight out in front of you? So again, use those hands behind you if you need you to sit up straight. Now try to reach. Reach. My favorite, reaching up. Good. How about with both knees bent? Same thing. Reach forward. Reach to the side. Reach to the other side. Now here's the fun one. This is where it starts to get a little bit interesting. From this position, what I want you to do is I want you to just, don't move your feet, but just drop your knees now down to the side. Boom. Look for that foot being right next to the knee. And again, use your hands to prop yourselves up if you need to. It's much better than sitting this way. Prop yourself up or grab your shin right here and pull yourself up nice and tall, nice and tall, nice and tall. And we can do a little forward reach. And back up. Good. Or you can take the back hand, put it behind you flat on the ground, again with your back up straight, and take this hand and reach around. As you come back, we can swing the legs back up. Don't move the feet. Feet stay stapled to the ground. Come back to the other side. Put that back hand down again and reach behind you. As you come back slowly, swivel the legs again. Hand back, reach back behind you. Keep going, doing a couple of these. I'm just going to slide up here and take a look. Great job, Susan. Very nice. Mr. Solis, nice. Jennifer, I like the mat. Erica, +1. Real good. Yep, there you go. So keeping yourself up tall the whole time. All right, so now a slight variation on that. By the way, I call these every day. Every day you should do these. Why? Our hips are horrible. As a doctor of physical therapy, I see hip replacements, arthritis all the time. No matter what variation of it you can do, even if you're just sitting here, that's great. If you can go back and forth, you can use your hands, again, use those hands behind you. If you need to, stay upright. Shouldn't be here. It should be up very tall, so hands behind you, up tall, back, and forth. Okay, so the second modification that we can do is now lifting up in the air. So you can take that back hand again, put it down flat behind you, keeping your shins on the ground. We're gonna bridge up and reach up for the sky. Switch it to the other side. Good, really good. A nice push through there. This is great for any runners for iliotibial band syndrome. Go ahead, keep going. Everyone's looking great. You guys are keeping up really well. Excellent. So another great modification now is going to be to come from this position. As you've been going back and forth, we have our rotational reaches. We have our bridging with our upward reach, and now we're going to come up to a half kneeling position. So you can use that back hand if you need to, or not. And you're just going to sit up into this position. Again, use the hand if you needed to. In this position, again, push your hips forward, stand up nice and tall, come down slowly, come back up, come down slowly. Again, imagine you're holding something, maybe a child, bag of rice, kettlebell, whatever works for you. And then we can rotate back and forth. So come down, rotate around, over to this side. Down to this side. There you go. And again, the two different ways that you can do this, just with a transition, you can keep the feet stapled and move the hips and your knees around, or you could pick the feet up and then transition them back that way. Let's work on that transition again. So come back, sit back down on the ground. This is called a side bend sit position, or some people will call it 90-90. Try to sit back, straighten your one leg, and then switch them. Very slow. The slower you go, the more you'll get out of it. Straighten, pull in, pull back. You're ready to go. Great. One or two more here. Very common in jiu-jitsu. This is a common warm-up that they use. So you'll see martial arts, parkour, they steal a lot of natural movements, or maybe natural movements steal a lot from the martial arts and everybody else. Who knows? We're all sharing. There you go. So how about this one? We'll do this transition. From here, come back up like we talked about. Watch the legs swivel. And then back down. You just windshield wiper them. And back down. So this would depend on what you were carrying or what you were holding. Just get that movement there. There you go. Awesome. You guys are doing fantastic. Seriously, I'm watching everybody following along and everything looks great. So let's come back to this position now. All right, and we're going to work on transitioning again and standing up. So just rock forward and back a little bit and see what that feels like for you. There you go. Good. Again, you can use a hand on the ground to give yourself a little bit of support if you need it. So that would look like this. You'd be here, and we're going to come up forward to a kneeling position as low as you can. Stay low to the ground. I love this. I call this the ninja. There's something very ninja-esque about this. So you can come sit back. If you don't need your hands, you can come here. Again, slow and controlled. Nail it, nail it, nail it. Good. Go back. Yep. You want to make sure that you have enough space. I'll show you from the side view. You don't want to keep this foot in too close, otherwise you won't be able to come up and over it. So you want to bring it out about 8 inches, about 130-degree angle here in your knee. Boom. So you can see if it's too close,